Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Alsace. This is a ship that got a buff last update. Its reload has gone from 32 seconds down to 30 seconds. A ship that I've really not featured on the channel very much at all. A little surprising given how much love I have for Bourgogne. I went back and checked how many videos I've made over the years on Bourgogne, and it's 15. That's a lot of videos for one ship. I really do enjoy the Bourgogne. Why not take a look at the free Tech Tree Tier 9 ship that it's based on? The Alsace here is the same home. It's similar guns. There's a lot of parameters that have been changed to make Bourgogne quite a bit better, although a tier higher. Today we're going to look at the buffed Alsace though. This 2-second reload buff has helped it feel a little bit more like a miniature Bourgogne, we could say. That gets us down to like a 26-ish second reload when we run reload mod, which I would highly recommend. And that's one of the things that sets Bourgogne apart is its reload is decent. It starts at 28 seconds. And it has a reload booster, giving it a lot of consistency into broadsides. So Bourgogne definitely has an edge on Alsace when it comes to consistency. But as a tier 9 battleship, Alsace is very, very good. This 2-second reload buff is excellent here. If you haven't played through this French line, it is worth going for the Republic. I kind of think that ship trolls a little too much from time to time. But Republic still has that 21-second reload on 431mm guns, which is kind of insane. That's what really lets you catch people off guard when they think they're safe to go for a turn, but you're already reloaded. That surprise is incredibly powerful. And that's what Bourgogne brings to a 12-gun battleship, allowing you to have that instant fast reload with the reload booster to catch people off guard when they're bow onto you and then they want to turn away. I do this all the time when I'm playing cruisers, battleships. I wait for someone to fire at my angled ship and then I go for my turn, thinking it's safe. Bourgogne does not allow that to happen, as does Republic. So Alsace not having that as an option, it's still a strong battleship because at tier 9, now we have the same reload as something like an Iowa. And yes, Iowa does have better Sigma. That is one of the main weak points here of Alsace, is that you only get 1.8 Sigma on battleship dispersion. But you get 12 guns. That is a 22k salvo into an Anhalt. It does an immense amount of damage. Having 12 guns at tier 9 is pretty rare. We see something like Minnesota. That's a pretty long reload, and you're getting nerfed shells compared to what you would find on most 406s there. These 380s are the full power 380s. That is a bit of an issue when you run into 27mm armor plating, but when people are broadside, as you should be able to find broadsides thanks to the speed that Alsace has, it's going to do very, very good work for you. So if you're a little bit skeptical on whether or not Bourgogne is actually worth getting for steel, it takes a long time to farm up that much steel, maybe get yourself an Alsace first and see if you like it. Bourgogne has the accuracy advantage, it has the reload advantage, it has a range advantage. It also has a advantage in speed and maneuverability. Not because the hull is any different, but because you get a 15% engine boost instead of the 8% here. I did notice that, by the way. It does feel quite a bit more maneuverable while playing Bourgogne. Alsace, though, much better than something like an Iowa, or for example. The standard tier 9 battleships, not having engine boost, not having this kind of speed, it's really nice to have here on Alsace. It's no slouch, it's just Bourgogne gets a few nice treats that pull it up into tier 10. You also get worse secondaries, kind of. I know it's popular to run Alsace with a secondary build. The reason I don't think that's amazing is because the vast majority of your secondaries are these 100mm secondaries. Bourgogne actually gets 127s as a small difference there. And the key is the pen on the HE there. The 100mm only have 17mm of pen. Superstructures have 19mm of pen at this tier, so you are literally not penning battleships anywhere. And your accuracy is standard battleship accuracy on those secondaries. It's not improved like the GK and Preußen lines. It's not massively improved like the Schlieffen line or the Ohio would be. It is just the base accuracy. So they don't hit particularly often on smaller targets. So you need to run IFHE if you want them to pen, unfortunately. Bourgogne doesn't have that issue, but at higher tier, we don't see a lot of brawling happening anyway. Alsace run as a more standard accuracy mid-range build does some pretty incredible work, as we're seeing here. A little better AA as well on Bourgogne. So it's surprising how little changes they have made to Bourgogne, and yet I still love that thing at tier 10, a whole tier higher. Maybe it's down to tier 9 these days, having pretty rough matchmaker, I guess we could say, in a nice way. It gets into super ships a lot, let's be honest. Maybe that's why it helps Bourgogne's case at a tier higher, since the matchmaker doesn't feel that different these days. But don't underestimate 0.2 Sigma, a reload buff, and especially a reload booster. You know how you get those battleship salvos where your dispersion just trolls you and you had that one shot at someone's broadside, someone's been playing well against you the entire time, and they make one mistake. And then you get trolled on dispersion in that one salvo you get. Well, with Bourgogne, you can get two a lot of the time, thanks to that reload booster. I think that's another reason. More consistent with the Sigma, but also having a reload booster makes things incredibly consistent. Not only for armor piercing, as I've been shooting mostly this game, as I'm not a fan of just spamming HE out of my battleships. Probably a weak point in my gameplay, to be honest with you. I should be shooting HE when it calls for it. I'm a little bit stubborn in that regard, but if you light a fire on a battleship, for example, with Bourgogne, and they damage control it, well, guess what? You can almost guarantee another fire thanks to your reload booster. It is that powerful. I absolutely love having a reload booster there. But for Alsace, you do have some nice salvos here and there, and most importantly, you have the vast majority of the base skills on a Bourgogne. And that means if you're not great at positioning a Bourgogne in a spot where you're finding those broadsides, you're getting to take advantage of that reload booster, what it can provide for you into those broadside ships, you're not going to find it that much better than Alsace, I don't think. If you're able to get yourself an Alsace before Bourgogne, see if you're finding yourself in positions where a lot of enemies happen to be broadside to you. It's not luck, it's your skill in finding those positions. The ship is fast. It allows you to get around the map, find those off angles to catch people off guard. And once you get there, and you think to yourself, man, I wish my Alsace was more accurate, had a slightly better reload, had the ability to cut its reload in half for a short period of time, then I do think Bourgogne is worthwhile. It's certainly not an easy thing to learn positioning in this game, but that really is the entire Battleship playstyle. All the skill comes down to your positioning, because a lot of the times your damage output can be dictated by those positions, not so much by your salvos and their accuracy or their inaccuracy. So much of it is down to RNG a lot of the time when you shoot your guns. The dispersion, it sometimes is pinpoint accurate, and other times it just flies off the screen. So what you can control as a player, it's your positioning. And that's the key here with an Alsace. That's the key here with the Bourgogne. You only have 32 millimeters of armor on an Alsace, which means you're getting overmatched at higher tier by things with 460 millimeter guns and above. Getting a few more of those, especially into super ships tier, but also HE. There's so much HE, so much sap that just full pens you everywhere. So while we have a lot of HP, it doesn't translate into a ton of tankiness. You need to use your speed and maneuverability to find those flanks. And I like Alsace for that. I will admit, though, that running an arms race game, it certainly makes it feel a lot more like a Bourgogne, thanks to that insane triple reload buff we had. I played many more games in it, and I wanted to show you this example here, where we're instantly pushing a flank. Very risky, but we got tier 9 matchmaker in this one, so it's a little bit easier to accomplish. And this is what allows us to have so much battle impact here while playing an Alsace. I wouldn't be very confident to do this in something like an Iowa, even though Iowa's also very fast. Alsace has turtleback. The French turtleback is very unique in that it's not quite as good as German turtleback at mitigating citadel damage. You still can't eat citadels in these French battleships, especially if people aim under your turrets. That seems to be the most consistent. It's pretty rare still. But crucially, that turtleback results in a ton of shatters, torp protection hits. If you've ever shot at a French battleship, you know what I mean. That black hole armor is very frustrating to deal with. And that's what helps the Alsace and the Bourgogne hull to feel a lot tankier. You're so fast that people typically aren't going to be able to hit you terribly easily. They're going to have to aim for center mass. They won't be able to pinpoint areas of your ship quite so easily. And that's where walking broadside on to the entire cap here for so long we don't take too much damage. It is just a Duncan at range, but not worrying as much about those citadels can allow us to get pretty far into the enemy's flank, and that DD wasn't expecting that, perhaps. It usually is a massive risk for a battleship to push up like this. I would be very concerned about those citadels, be very concerned about torpedoes as well. But with this ship having really solid citadel protection, I can afford to make so many more aggressive plays that may put me in a situation where I'm eating some broadside salvos, but I'm not as worried about it here with the Alsace. And I think that's part of what allows it to be a little bit more fun. We're going to push this Groningen here. He doesn't have torpedoes, but we do have a 44% torp protection here on the Alsace, which is very, very powerful, allowing us to more easily push. You don't have a hydro, of course, but with some team support, that's not so bad. At least here, though, Groningen, we do not have to worry about that. Swapping over to the HE, yeah, you do want to be shooting some HE out of your French battleships because it does some very, very good damage and has some decent fire chance as well. I'm going to wait for him to ground first. Not sure if they've fixed the aim bugs related to ships grounded. So we wait a second and we get a pretty nice hit in, over 15,000 damage there. Or maybe that was a secondary hit that gave us that little bit extra. But 15k is very, very nice there into DDs. Good dispersion in that case. And with that, we've pretty much steamrolled through this flank. It felt a lot like I was playing a Bourgogne here. This is often what I would do. If I notice the enemy team is giving up a flank, I'm going to instantly start trying to push it. And that's what I love so much about the Bourgogne playstyle. The reason I enjoy it so much is the positioning. How quickly you can exploit an enemy weak point and punish it relatively consistently. Mostly thanks to its improved accuracy over Alsace and, of course, that reload booster. We overpush, a lot of enemy ships start firing at us, and we can turn away and get out of danger there. We have enough HP to deal with that. Our armor is able to hold in a situation like that. And then we can find ourselves some flat broadside San Diego, Shimanto here. We have enough range and especially shell velocity. The 380s here have very, very good shell velocity. Now that comes with the downside of maybe you get a lot of overpens into light cruisers, but it's very good into battleships at longer ranges too. And maybe that's just RNG. Some of our shells went high. Perhaps I aimed a little bit too low there, actually, looking back on things. But 380s also have the weakness of 27 millimeters of armor auto bouncing them. So it's not like Alsace is just this all powerful tier 9. There are weak points here, and Hipper having 27 millimeters of armor everywhere, we would bounce off of his bow. We could go superstructure here, but I'm assuming he's going to go for his torpedoes, opening up broadside enough that we should get that citadel under his... No, we can't get the turret citadel there, unfortunately. 4 bounces even at that angle. Leads me to believe that maybe the 380s here have poor pen angles, I guess. It doesn't seem like that, looking at the soft stats here, or the hidden stats that they don't show in game. It's the normal 45 to 60 degree ricochet angles, but maybe it's something to do with some of the other values that go into these shell characteristics. Cleveland at pretty much our max range, which is only 20 kilometers. It's another thing that allows Bourgogne to be a little bit more comfortable. That ship can get out to 24.8. Much more comfortable, but it is a tier higher. Bunch of overpens there on a Cleveland, but you'll notice that it doesn't take a lot to lead these shells. Very fast shells here. And to me, this feels a lot closer to the Bourgogne playstyle. It's not fully there, of course. It couldn't be because it's a tier 9 after all, but it feels a lot closer. So this buff that they gave to us last patch on Alsace, 2-second reload buff, seems minor, but I really like it. So if you're interested in Bourgogne and you're on the fence about it, try and get yourself an Alsace. Highly recommend you play this thing for a bit. And while playing, if you feel like you wish that ship had a little bit better accuracy and crucially, much more consistent punishes on those broadsides thanks to that reload booster, I think you'll really enjoy Bourgogne. And now that we're in port, I should probably mention, those of you that with a good eye probably already realized, this isn't a French flag back here. This is the Wujing. This is the premium version in the Pan-Asian tech tree, but it also got the exact same buff to its reload. And I really do, 2 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, right? But the closer we get to that 20 to 23 seconds of reload, it's so impactful for a lot of situations in the game where people try to bait out a salvo and then turn away while you're reloading. The closer we can get to not allowing them to do that, the better the ship is going to perform, at least when it's battleships. I think that's very, very important, that 2 seconds, it really doesn't seem like a lot, but there are a lot of situations where every little bit counts. Decent HP for a tier 9 overall, but yeah, this armor looks pretty bad, right? Looks pretty rough, but when you take away especially the torp belt there, look at how high above the water this sits as well, this turtleback. It just results in so many shatters. That's why if you're using any HE that pens 32, if that HE hits down here, it's just going to get torp protection hit non-pens. So you have to actually hit quite a bit higher up than you think. French ships are a little bit weird, and you see all this gapping here, all this space. That's that black hole armor. It just, shells disappear in these French ships, man. It's really weird. But while you're playing them, it adds to the tankiness quite a bit. Decent concealment here, 13.2, and given that it's 12 guns at tier 9 with a sub 30-second reload now when we're taking reload mod, highly recommend you do that, by the way. You could take range, but at tier 9, it's going to be a little bit challenging in those super ship games, but having that better reload helps the ship so much. You want to be having that DPM. You want that reload to come back for those broadside shots. It's really useful. Or even just shooting HE, as much as I don't want to do it. It is worth doing. Obviously going aiming systems here. The engine boost, while not as powerful, 8% instead of 15%, it does last a long time and does provide you with a little bit of extra maneuverability. Helps you dodge. Bourgogne, though, that 15% really kicks in and does a good job. With Brisk here on our commander, as well as Grease the Gears, since the turret traverse was a little bit slow when I was running a reload mod, I noticed I nearly got to 40 knots, Brisk plus my engine boost. That is very good for a ship that doesn't seem like it's as quick around the map as a Bourgogne. It's still not quite there, but that's faster than you think, and is very good at exploiting weaknesses in the enemy line. Not as good as Bourgogne, but again, the whole point of this video is to remind you that this ship exists and is a decent miniature version of Bourgogne. It's not all the way there. Bourgogne is quite a lot better. I way prefer playing Bourgogne to Alsace, even with the somewhat improved matchmaker that tier 9 has. I still would just prefer to play Bourgogne if I had to choose, just because I enjoy that playstyle that those consumables unlock, as well as the extra speed and accuracy. But I think that's going to do it for today on Alsace. I know this buff happened last patch. In fact, I'm not sure when this video is actually going to go out, as this is, I think, the last one I'm recording before I start into all the new stuff coming with 14.8. Very excited. My goodness, Wargaming is absolutely cooking with the last few updates of this year. But let me know what you think in the comments down below about Alsace. Do you also feel like it's a decent approximation of Bourgogne? Lacking a lot, okay, lacking a lot. But let me know if that tracks with your experience as well. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.